So John Lynch spoke with NBC Sports Bay Area's Jennifer Lee Chan, and he was asked about basically how the team views Jake Moody, coming off of a pretty rough 2024 season. Um, Obviously, Moody came into the 2024 season and got off to a pretty good start, but then he suffered the ankle injury, and then he came back and was far less effective, once he returned from that ankle injury. He missed one field goal and made all of his extra point tries in the first 5 weeks of the season. But then he went 11 of 20 on field goals in the final 9 games of the regular season. And that obviously led to some calls for the 49ers to look for other options than Jake Moody. But John Lynch said that this week, when he spoke with Jennifer Lee Chan, that the team believes the injury contributed to the poor play down the stretch for Jake Moody. He said, "We've had really honest discussions with Jake, and I know that's a hot button. We still have a lot of belief in him. We believe that the injury had a lot to do with all of that." He also kind of mentioned that even though they still believe in Jake Moody, that belief does not mean the team won't consider adding another kicker. And John Lynch even said that might be a route that the 49ers elect to go, is to look for another kicker. So he said someone else to insulate us would be good, but like I said, we have the belief that he will rise to the top, so that's something to keep tabs on if we do decide to bring somebody in. We are very hopeful that Jake, what we have had envisioned for him, is still very possible. I don't know. To be completely honest, if the 49ers are going to, if John Lynch and this organization and Kyle Shanahan are going to be cutting ties with players that aren't producing and aren't playing at a high level, kind of like how they're, getting rid of some players that, just simply aren't producing, kind of like Aaron Banks on the offensive line. You need to let Jake Moody go. I don't care if he was a 3rd-round pick. I don't even give a shit if he was a 2nd-round pick. The fact of the matter is he costed the 49ers multiple games last season. There's probably a good 3 to 4 games where if Jake Moody just would have been on his A game and would have made some of these kicks, the 49ers, I mean, that could have been the difference of 3 to 4 losses turned into wins. So to me, I think they got to cut ties with him. They need to go get a veteran kicker out on the market that can come in and make field goals when it matters. Because, I mean, not only did Jake Moody have a rough 2024 season, but he really didn't have that good of a 2023 season either. And I know he performed fairly well in the Super Bowl and things like that. But the fact of the matter is, he's not producing to the level in which he should be. And again, if the 49ers are going to be cutting ties with players and they're going to be a little more harsh on certain players that aren't producing, they need to hold that same standard for their field goal kicker. Field goal kicker is one of the most important positions on a football team. When you need, 3 points to win the game and you're in field goal range, you got to have a good kicker that can make that kick. I think Jake Moody lacks confidence. Do I think that, some of his struggles, towards the back half of the season, do I think it had, some stuff to do with the ankle injury? Maybe. But I'm not going to sit here and make an excuse for Jake Moody because there's been times where he's been healthy and he's struggled. I went to the Cleveland game in 2023 when the Niners were in Cleveland. I was at that game, and he missed the game-winning kick, and it ruined the day. Not necessarily because I was able to sit row 1 behind the Niners bench that game, but either way, you guys get the point. Like that was such a kick in the balls. Seeing him miss that kick and choke the game away. And that's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, there's been times where, the 49ers have been in situations to put the game away and go up by 10 points. There were multiple situations like this last season. And Jake Moody trots out, and he misses a field goal that would have put the 49ers up by 2 scores. And then, the opposing team comes back and wins the game. It happened with the Rams game, week 3, I believe it was. We had a chance to go up by 10 in that game, if I can remember right. Jake Moody misses the kick, and that gave the Rams, it was a swing of momentum, and it gave the Rams, an opportunity to win the game. So, and I'm not going to sit up here and blame all the losses on Jake Moody, but I'm telling you right now, I mean, any real Niner fan knows there's probably 3 or 4 games last season that should have been won by the 49ers, but they turned into losses because of a Jake Moody missed field goal. I'm out on Jake Moody. I can't see, why the 49ers would still have belief in him. I mean, it's easy to have belief in a guy that you drafted with, in the 3rd round or something like that. But at the end of the day, producing is producing, and Jake Moody hasn't been able to produce and help the 49ers win football games. And there's been times where he's struggled even without injuries. So I'm out on Jake Moody. I would elect for the 49ers to go out in free agency, bring in a kicker, a veteran guy that's done it before. There are some veteran guys out there. All they got to do is host a workout, have a kicker competition, and see who ends up winning that kicker competition. And I feel like what the 49ers will do with Jake Moody, knowing how they are, I feel like he'll be kept. And I feel like they'll bring in a few veteran kickers to kind of compete with Jake Moody. And, based off of that competition, I think we'll know who the next 49ers kicker will be. But for some reason, I don't know. I mean, still having belief in a guy that's costed you multiple games, it's just crazy to me. I mean, they need to hold the same standard that they're doing for these other players in terms of being harsher this offseason and really cutting ties with players who aren't producing. If you're doing it for other people, you better do the same for Jake Moody, because, again, the field goal kicker position, man, is one of the most important positions on a football team. And if your field goal kicker cannot make kicks and cannot help your team, cannot put your team in certain situations to, put games away, why the hell are you hanging on to him? So what I predict is the 49ers will keep Jake Moody on the roster. I'm going to say that they bring in a few veteran kickers to compete with Jake Moody, and based off of that offseason competition, we will know who the next 49ers kicker is. And I'm really just saying that based off of what John Lynch told Jennifer Lee Chan when asked about Jake Moody. So, yeah, I mean, Moody was 21 of 25 on field goals, and 60 of 61 on extra points as a rookie, which wasn't bad, but isn't great. And then he was 6 of 8 on field goals and 8 of 9 on extra points in the postseason. So he missed 2 field goals in the postseason that could have really swung games the other team's way. So I'm out on Jake Moody. My belief has ran out for Jake Moody. I think they should get rid of him and move on and sign a veteran guy. But we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. It doesn't seem to me like the 49ers will be releasing Jake Moody. But John Lynch also said he is not in the business of letting good players go, and they're trading Deebo Samuel. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.